what's up, and welcome back to another episode of The Movie Newbie. I'm your host, Jibril Essahami, and as usual, I am joined by the two legends, and one of them who always flips his fucking notebook paper while I'm trying to speak.
I literally just did it. As soon as I did it, I was like,
well, that's Rab. And we've got Ollie on there. We've got Ollie too. How would you guys say hello?
Hey, what's up, everybody?
And yeah, this is episode 98.
what?
98?
Dude, we have two more until we hit a hundred?
Yeah, a hundo. So the hundo is going to come, I guess, halfway through this episode.
So there's going to be a little bit of an interruption in our feed.
Episode 100, and then we're going to finish off the theme for 101.
Wow. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Wow. Who'd have thought it?
Wow. Who would have thought?
Wow.
Not me.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Well, what's the
on a
new
little
film?
sidebar, we do need to get to the film, but like, someone told me recently the most podcasts die after, or like stop recording after 10 episodes.
Yeah.
So let's just give ourselves not now because we haven't got there yet. 100 episodes. I forget we're on camera.
Yeah, I mean, we all shook hands, and I was trying to shake Ollie's hand for the longest time. He didn't see me.
Yeah, you did.
Anyways, it's funnier when you got to see the clip. We'll make a clip out of it.
We'll make a clip out of that. That was really good.
That was comedic. That was very comedic. Thank you for supplying my comedy. So,
yeah.
What are we starting with, boys and boys?
Jean-Luc Godard.
We're talking about Breathless, guys.
Yeah, it's gonna be great.
It's gonna be
fresh new way.
Wow.
I'm sure Midnight in Paris is a great influence of that as well. It's like, oh my God, Paris in the rain. Anyways, today we are entering the French New Wave with the first film, A bout de souffle, or Breathless, the 1960, some would say and claim, masterpiece of the French New Wave, directed by Jean-Luc Godard, and starring basically the Marlon Brando, the James Dean of France, Jean-Paul Belmondo, a personal favorite of mine and my father's, and then the exquisitely talented, beautiful, and incredibly influential Jean Seberg. I never know how to pronounce her last name. Seberg, who's fantastic. And it's a screenplay, funny enough, by François Truffaut, who discovered this piece in an article. So it's actually kind of based on a true story about a man who violently kills a police officer and is on the run. So that's kind of what the story is about. Breathless is about Jean-Paul Belmondo's character, Michel, who is on the run after killing a motorcycle cop at the beginning of the film and seeks refuge in Paris, where he meets up with an old flame, Jean Seberg's character. And they go on a bit of a romance in Paris as he tries to convince her to flee or to come to Italy as he's being pursued by the law. So kind of a Bonnie and Clyde type situation. And this movie has influenced the Bonnie and Clyde movie that came a few years later. I kind of want to get first impressions on Jibril, first of all, our movie newbie. Right. And I think you might like this theme and maybe you like this movie.
Well, first, have you seen the remake of this?
No, with Richard Gere.
With Richard Gere, yeah.
No, I refuse.
Okay, well, because apparently it's also a very good movie. I just haven't. I just wanted to know if anybody of you seen it.
No, I haven't.
Ever.
But yeah, so I watched this movie last night.
Nice.
And then I fell asleep. So I woke up this morning and watched it again.
You slept right through to the next day.
I mean, yeah. I put it on at like 9:30, like once I got home.
That movie really took your breath away.
9:40, I was like,
yeah.
And I woke up at like 4 on my couch, like, oh my God, I did it again. No! And it was just so good. Like, honestly, it was amazing movie. Like, initial thoughts, I guess it wasn't a very like plot heavy movie, or like things were going on, but they weren't showing attention. Like, yeah, there was a theft, there was a murder, and this dude's running away, but you don't really see them running away from anything, or like there isn't really like
like the law enforcement is basically two guys.
Yeah, it's not like Cops and Robbers either, you know. It's kind of like MI7. You know, like there was the two like guys that were chasing Tom Cruise the entire movie, but you don't really see them chasing him.
Yeah.
It's like kind of these small spaces, like 400 blows, like the small apartments with weird
this must be the first
things.
time that the Mission Impossible franchise has been compared to a French New Wave.
Well, it's like the fact that like things are happening in the background, but that's not what you're seeing.
Yeah, and it doesn't really have to. It's not really about that, like that's kind of like it's
using,
it's kind of in the background, you know. It's
what's interesting, like what I don't know if it's correct is what I'm saying, but like it seems like they use the plot as a setting, like setting the scene, rather than using like the. So I don't. Okay,
it's not a drive.
The
plot is not like as in. I think I know what you're trying to say.
Yeah.
It's not the driving force behind what narratively what brings this piece to life.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It's like it's not the fact that it's a cops and robbers and they're like running away from shit. It's the little moments in like what happens throughout the day or the course
or
between
of
them,
between
between
the characters.
It's like there's a bit where like she goes to she's like running away from the only example I'm giving is like she's running away from the cops, but like there's little bits that like she like interacts and it's like traditionally I don't think that would have been something they would do, and they cut to another scene where she's doing something else. But
sure. I mean, again,
it's like ambiance,
Yeah.
I loved the jump cuts from when he was like driving from Marseille to Paris in the beginning of the film, where they like show movement, but not because the car is moving, but they're showing movement within the cuts splices. I guess that was the era of splicing, right? Yeah, I learned words.
Yeah, we like that. We like that.
What else was that immediately
stuck out?
It wasn't voice recorded, right? They dubbed it later.
Yes, the whole film was dubbed. Yeah.
So Godard, that's like his style, right?
Well, that was pretty common practice for independent movies back in those days, because prior to that, or in mainstream filmmaking, you had to shoot on a studio if you wanted to record live.
From what I know,
and the cameras were
Godard,
extremely loud.
Yeah, but from what I know, he didn't finish the script. So while they were
he wrote each scene's
in the morning
dialogue in the morning,
and then he'd feed them the lines like behind the camera. So I thought that was really interesting because that's not.
It's very similar to how like Italian films from that era were also made in the same way.
So actually, a question: is this kind of like the yin to the yang of like Italian westerns, like spaghetti westerns? Because it was around the same time, right? Or were spaghetti westerns a little bit older?
Spaghetti western a bit older. Late 60s, maybe early 70s.
I think spaghetti westerns were more like 60s and 70s. So a bit after this.
And this is like 60s, no?
This is 1960.
I would say late 50s is French New Wave to early 60s.
Okay,
right.
So maybe spaghetti western was like an antithesis. Would that be no, not antithesis.
I know what you're trying to say. Like the opposite. Yeah. I mean, again, I think there's probably a lot of influences there, which is what the brilliant thing about French New Wave is. A lot of directors saw that, and there was a lot of picking from these films and then they introduced that in their films.
Because like 2 or 3 times in the movie, they're like, "Let's go watch a western."
Yeah. Oh, for sure. And the fact that he kind of resembles or likes to resemble Humphrey Bogart.
That was a big thing about French. That's a big thing about French New Wave filmmakers is that they idolized B movies from America that were coming out in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. They kind of despised conventional modern day contemporary French cinema.
It's so French.
They didn't like modern art house. They didn't like modern European filmmaking. No. They loved like the noir films and the westerns from the 40s and 50s.
So why Humphrey Bogart is strong, like that he had a strong impression on Belmondo's character, because I think that's a kind of an ode to him.
Sure.
And it's funny because
I think that the whole silk and tweed thing was like an ode to like the whole noir thing and
the way he dressed Michelle's character.
Yeah, for sure. But anyways, Ollie, what was your first impression?
Yeah, it was cool. I was.
Had you ever seen this film?
I had seen it. I like probably a lot of people from our generation. My first time watching it was in a classroom. Watched it as part of a film studies class. And I don't think I'd seen it since then. So it was interesting. And this was over 10 years ago, I suppose. So it was cool going back to it. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a really I don't know how else to describe it, but fun experience. I will say from the top, I like it. I don't love it. It's not my favorite. I think it's one of those films that I admire and recognize in terms of its importance more than I think I enjoy purely. I think it's arguably the definitive piece of text from the French New Wave, which is really, and its influence is incredible on the rest of cinema.
Palpable, yeah.
But when it comes, I don't need to compare it to the French New Wave films, but I prefer I do prefer other Godard films like Le Mépris and Vivre sa vie, which is one of my favorite films.
I know.
I like a lot of Francois Truffaut films. Sorry, Jabril, I think you're about to say something.
Well, I don't know. It's got like sunrise, midnight, before.
Yeah,
like
absolutely.
It's got that vibe. I
Totally.
love this film.
Totally.
It's
No,
weird that you're getting.
I know.
That you're giving this.
I know.
Yeah.
Look, but I don't want to. I don't want to understate my feelings about the film. I really did enjoy it. What I love most about it is that this is a filmmaker's first film, and often with those debut features, you can sense the joy from filmmaking, because you're watching a filmmaker or an artist play with their tools for the first time or discover a craft for the first time, and it's got that sense of wonder that you often don't see in successive films. And I think that jumps off the screen with this film. I love the use of jump cuts, which was one of the most innovative things about the movie. I think the performances are really good. It's got a great style. I really liked how it's like it feels like a conversation between the mundane everyday shit and then the sort of over the top sensationalized genre shit that was in the films that influenced these filmmakers. So it feels very postmodern because there's a lot of mundane stuff, and then you have the stuff that's ripped right out of like a gangster film. Yet it's depicted in a kind of funny, humorous, quirky French way.
Like I got this like almost Camus kind of like existentialist vibe.
Yeah,
totally.
Absolutely.
What was the main character's name?
Michel.
Well,
Like at the end where he just sort of just surrenders to death at the end. That's very that's very existentialist.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Like I don't know how much I like this movie, but I know that I like it.
Yeah.
You know, I know that they're
that's why you need to watch it a second time.
Well, yeah, that's like you said on the bonus episode, right? Like we need to have a bunch of rewatches, and I just love the 90-minute movies, man. That's what I'm
saying. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, it's a short, tightly compacted.
I thought it was a 2-hour film.
No, 1 hour and 30.
I just watched the extent. Oh, you're right. Okay. Yeah, my bad.
But shall we move to favorite performance or scene?
Yeah,
Which one do you want to do first?
Sure. But I like the fact that you guys are talking about how there's this first impression you're giving me is like, there's something about it. Even if you don't like it, there's something impressionistic about it, which is what the French New Wave is all about.
I would describe this film as undeniable.
Yes, there we go.
That is
undeniable. Yes. So favorite performance. I mean, shoot, Jabril, please. I'll go for you again. I didn't give my first impression, but y'all already know.
Both Jean-Paul Belmondo and the American girl.
Jean Seberg.
Is she actually American?
Yeah.
Okay. Born in Sweden, raised in America.
Raised in America. Yeah.
I loved both of their performances. I really couldn't pick between the two. I feel like everyone else was like uncredited in the film. Like when I checked the IMDb, everything was like uncredited.
Really?
Uncredited. I was like, that's
because most of the other performers were fellow filmmakers or critics from that Cahiers du Cinema circle.
Yeah. So those were I can't really pick between the two.
They were the central performances.
It's hard to pick between the two because they're really great.
Yeah.
But I really loved how Seberg or what, I don't know how to pronounce her last name. She played like the innocent kind of like, what's happening? You know, like she was very good at like making the audience think that she doesn't know anything that's happening. You know, she played that ditzy kind of like, ooh, I'm a student on exchange in France, like walking the street, and like I love the fact like she was saying like this is alluding to my favorite quotes, but like she's like, what does that mean? You know, like what does that X
very
word
famous
mean?
ending.
Yeah. So
dégueulasse.
if I had to pick, it would probably be her. But it's like I don't know what else to say. Like the performance from both main characters were great.
Yeah. Jean-Paul
and
Jean. Ollie?
Yeah, I mean, I would just say I think Jabril's right. It's kind of hard not to talk about those two star performances when you're talking about the acting in this movie. I think both of them are fantastic. I love the immaturity that Jean-Paul Belmondo brings to this character. I mean, he's charming and he's kind of cool, but he also seems like a kid. A brat. Like even the way his suit fits, it's almost like it's too big for him.
Yeah, small tie, big
exactly,
blazer.
and the cigarette almost looks too big for his lips. And
so big, he's fat. He's smoking fat dude.
I was like, what is
looks
that?
like some Rasta shit.
Looks like a gorilla finger, man.
But like, you know what? It's funny. His performance reminded me of like people we went to school with or we knew growing up. It was like some Marco shit sometimes.
No, it reminded me of Max Verrier, man.
Oh wow, yes, absolutely.
Like a young Max Verrier.
Yeah, absolutely.
So Naringa, I watched this film with my partner Naringa. She liked the film but didn't love it, and she just thought he was such an arsehole.
Yeah,
I thought he was.
And he was, and I was like, he's a cool arsehole, but he's like kids we went to school with. We all know them. So I give credit to Jean-Paul Belmondo for that performance, but I'll also
would you call that like chauvinism?
Chauvinism? Yeah, he's a chauvinist. Yeah, he literally
definitely.
lifts a woman's skirt, a stranger's skirt up to make a joke, to prove a point.
Yeah.
Misogynist, chauvinistic, like, you know.
I felt like all the male characters were like that in this film.
Well, I mean, it was
in
also...
It was 60s France, yeah. So, yeah.
But I liked his physical tics as well. The way in which, like, he pouted and stuff. The way in which he, like, straightened his tie.
Well, I love the nod to...
to Bogey.
What you were saying. Yeah. That dude. Yeah.
But I just wanted to quickly give a shout out to Jean-Pierre Melville, who played Parvalesco, who's the writer they're interviewing in that one, that Patricia's character is interviewing in that one scene. That's Jean-Pierre Melville, who is a very famous French director in his own right. Directed Le Samouraï, Le Cercle Rouge, great films. And I thought he's really funny, even though he was also giving a lot of chauvinist vibes in that scene. But the way he kind of responded to the questions, it was very droll, very funny. So I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you both presented great critics on their performance, and I think Jabril, you're right. Like it's kind of those central performances, those two that really put the film together. Yeah, and Jean-Paul Belmondo, I mean, he's incredible in this film. I think he's despicable and quite unlikable, yet has this, I don't know, maintains this like charming allure and this like boyish sophistication, where, you know, he's in a suit, but yet he has like this big ass fat guitar.
What'd you say?
Like this big cigarette in his mouth, but yet walks kind of like suave, like, and kind of like his like.
Well, my Naringa said he was the original fuck boy after watching the film.
The OG fuck boy.
The way he just like he drops into her apartment, and like sleeps in her bed, and is like, "Now let's have sex."
Yeah. And I like. I mean, this is alluding to my favorite scene, but like that scene in the apartment. There's you are seeing all their sense of relationship and their sense of character and their differences and similarities and their sexual attraction all in that one bit. And I think that if you were to really go deep into their characters, you watch that specific scene because it shows you everything. It shows her restraint and her way to get what she wants, and that's not him, but also how she confesses that she loves him but doesn't really want to love him, but also does not give him what he wants. And he's out there just like wanting her, and, you know, confesses a lot of things about what he wants from her and his desires. So there's that friction, and yet there's also that glue, and it just works perfectly. And the fact that it's all kind of semi-improvised and so natural and raw. The performances are really incredible. And I'd like to give the city of Paris one of my favorite performances out there. I had to do it. No, I'll give it to Jean Seberg. She was. I think there's such a really. I found her character so relatable. As someone who is bilingual, as someone who kind of whenever I go to France, I have this sense of like, I want to speak French, but also I want to switch to English. There's this uncomfortability with my Frenchness. And I think maybe there was a bit with her as well, how there was things that she didn't understand, things that were foreign to her. And sometimes I feel like that when I'm in Paris or when I'm in the south of France. So I really related to that character quite a lot this time around.
Right.
Nice.
All right. So we've got favorite scene up next. Lego.
So my favorite scene, I guess I'm going to go with the last bit. Not the bit where Michel is on the floor like dying, but the bit where he's like running away
when he just got shot
and he's running away.
Great
simply because it's such a like DIY scene. And I don't know if this is use this scene from the film like as a piece of influence, but there was a music video that I watched back in the day. I can't remember what it was, but it was like during the like whole tectonique movement in France, and there was this music video where I think it was on the same street, like naked women would be walking down the street in a one shot, and they would have like French. The lyrics of the songs like replaced where their bra and panties would be.
That's very French.
But what I thought was very similar was the fact that like there were real like civilians on the street, you know, and they were looking directly into the camera. There are moments where like people are on the street and it seems alive. But this happens in reverse in the movie, or in reverse in the music video. So that's what I loved about this, is that like it honestly looked like someone on an office chair pushing someone else with a camera while like he's like running down the street, and it was perfect. Like, and the fact that it looked weird was what made it so effective.
And the fact that they used the city of Paris and the people in it as a reaction, you know, as viewers that are actually reacting to what's going on in the moment, gives it such a much more weight to each scene. Because let's say he's running away, he just got shot. People like I saw like one or two faces that were like kind of worried, and you can't get that with. Again, you can't get that with like a background performance, because it's kind of rehearsed and it's preordained. Like, whereas this is like in the moment type shit.
I don't know if anybody's seen this video on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, but there's a video of like clearly actors and like there's an actor and actress like having a fake fight like after a night out in the streets of London. And then some dude's like, "Oi, what you doing?" And like, there's like, "It's a film." You know, like I can't imagine what that would be like back in the day, you know, where like film is actual film and it like costs shit. You know, and you have some random dude from the street try and help. Like, would you like try and incorporate that into the to the film, or like what are these stylistic choices that you would make? Like, this is what I was thinking when I was watching this scene. It's not that it was the perfect scene, but it was like there are faults in it that like made it seem
real. It made it seem visceral.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you guys think?
Ollie?
Favorite scene. I mean, I don't know if you can call it a scene rather than just an extended sequence, but it's everything that takes place in Patricia's apartment.
Yes. Yeah.
Did I steal this from you?
No, it's okay. We'll talk. Let's talk. Let's
talk about it. Absolutely.
We got 15 minutes.
This just that sequence just has everything I want from a French New Wave, or this particular kind of French New Wave film. It's sexy, it's fun, it's philosophical, it's shot in an interesting way. That's when the chemistry between those two actors really comes alive. And I think it's when you can see why they are attracted to one another, or particularly why Patricia's attracted to this dirtbag, because in his own fucked up chauvinistic way, he gets her. He makes her laugh, but also he makes her think. And he challenges her and he pushes her. And there's a lot you can read into that scene. Like, I love how she's talking about Faulkner, and then she's got the Picasso painting poster, and she's talking about these classical painters, and then he's talking about fast American cars and reading the newspaper. So he's kind of representing the new and the Western, the new and the American. Even though he's French and she's American, and she's representing the old European antiquities.
They duel each other. They dance.
It's interesting. And then you've got that great moment where she's viewing him through the poster. She rolls up the poster, views him, and then this is where Godard starts to flex a little bit. He puts the camera behind the poster, so we've got like this bird's eye, or like this little periscope view of Jean-Paul Belmondo as he's looking at the camera smoking, and then it just cuts to a close-up of them making out like movie stars. It's so interesting, and it doesn't tell you if that's right the moment they've had sex or not, but it was great, and that's where the film really gathered steam for me. So I love that whole section.
Yeah, I think that the film can be all incorporated in that one scene, especially with the relationship and the chemistry of those characters. And I think that's where the performances shine the most. And I think that's where Godard shines the most too. And that's where the writing shines the most.
Small spaces.
In this confined, single location.
He did 400 Blows, right?
No, that's François Truffaut.
Oh, that's Truffaut.
Yeah,
okay. Oh, shit.
This movie was written by François Truffaut. This one.
Film right here.
Yeah,
okay.
The screen.
Okay.
He
came up with the original story.
The original story. The original screenplay. I picked that scene as well. I mean, there was another scene. It was a tracking shot at the bank. Oh, sorry, the travel agency.
Yes.
Just because I was like, nice tracking shot, and it just kind of shows Belmondo's character as this like cool suave, has the suit, it has a plan for to get away, blah blah blah, and then it shows the exact same scene but with the law enforcers coming in.
Okay, now I remember.
But I have to pick this scene because this epitomizes this movie. It highlights this movie, and so many essays and critical think pieces have been done on this like sequence alone. And some of my favorite lines come from it, and it's so existential and alive and poetic and philosophical, everything that you've said, but it also makes me just fall in love. Not just fall in love with these characters or it makes me believe in love. For some reason, I have this idea of love, whether that's loving a fucking lamp or loving like an actual person. It paints the idea of
Did you say lamp?
Yes,
nice.
I love lamp.
I love lamp. But it has this quality of like, and it makes you think. The scene makes you think. It really challenges, just like Belmondo's challenging her, and just how she's romanticizing things. It makes you feel all of that, and makes you want to express.
And it's a little dark too. Like when he says, "If you don't smile, I'll strangle you," or something.
Yeah, there's a bit of
she likes it.
I mean, fair enough. But it's one of those things where it challenges everything and it questions everything, and it's about everything as well. And it's also like, I don't know if I'm sure you guys have had this for sure, but like experiencing kind of like, pillow talk where you are talking with a partner, a sexual friend, and you have all these conversations in a bedroom.
Shout out to Lil Dicky's Pillow Talking.
Exactly.
That's a great song.
Great song, great music video too. But it's one of those things where in those moments you do talk about it all.
Yeah. Totally. I just wanted to, before we move on to the favorite quote, I just wanted to say how obvious the male gaze was in this film. Like there was a moment where Jean,
we'll call her Jean. We know her.
She like gets into the bed, maybe it wasn't her, maybe it was another woman.
I think you're thinking of the other. I'd say the other woman, like but the Italian friend. Yeah, the Italian mistress he has.
Yes. But there was one where she like gets into bed, but she like gets in with like her butt like in the air, like super sexy, and it's just like
very Playboy.
Come on, very Playboy. And I was like, up. There we go. That from what is it? Good. No, what the Hollywood movie?
There's many.
Leonardo DiCaprio. Welcome to Hollywood. Once upon a time in Hollywood. Yeah, when he's watching TV and he's like,
there it is.
There it is.
Yeah. I mean, and on a little side note, just for you guys to have a research on this or to go on a deep dive, but please look into Jean Seberg's life. She has a fascinating life that is quite tragic, but also fascinating. She was such a fascinating, powerful, interesting woman that was, kind of died too early because of like, circumstances that were beyond her control and targeting her really. But she has a really fascinating
There's
life.
A great podcast series on You Must Remember This about her called Jean and Jane.
Yeah. There's also a mediocre film with Kristen Stewart called Seberg.
I never saw. But favorite quote, guys.
Yeah, there's many.
I mean, for me, it's not a specific quote, but it's every time she asks like what a word means.
Yes. Yeah.
I really like that just because I guess the same thing with like being bilingual, learning another language. Like when I moved to Buenos Aires for a bit, like during my semester abroad, I remember like having to ask that question. And what I loved about the fact that she does it is like she asks like, hey, like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
You know, but like I always felt embarrassed asking like what someone said.
Means.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's something that I've always found difficult when learning new languages and being corrected.
Yeah.
It's like asking like, what does that mean? I don't understand. So I would say any of those quotes, because like each and every time she asked, it was like in such a different circumstance. Like there was a moment where Michelle is passing, like dying. There's a moment where she's like getting, she's not getting arrested, but like the cops are after her. There's so many instances where she says it, but it has a different effect.
Especially
every
towards
single
the
time.
end of a very famous ending to a film.
So that's for me. Yeah. Not to go into too much detail.
Yeah. That's good.
It's a bit. It's tough when you're quoting films but not in their original language.
Sure.
It feels almost a bit fraudulent to quote subtitles because the subtitles are just someone's interpretation of it.
Yeah.
Having said that, the one I picked, I think, for my number one was a quote from Patricia Jean Seberg's character. She says, "I don't know if I'm unhappy because I'm not free." Oh, sorry, was that yours?
We're in sync with this.
Or
film.
if I'm not free because I'm unhappy. There we go. Perfect.
Je sais pas si je suis pas content parce que je suis pas libre ou si je suis pas libre parce que je suis pas content.
Ah, love it.
Right.
Love it.
It sounds so much better.
It does, yeah. It does.
No, it's a great, and again, like a very existential kind of line.
Yeah, and they
really
they just drop those sort of observations into the middle of everyday conversation, and it's great.
Yeah. That's just what happens when you talk to a French person. They just
you're like, how do I get?
Dude, honestly,
this
movie made me want to smoke, especially that scene. God damn, I was like, fuck.
Was there a moment where there wasn't someone smoking?
I think Jean-Paul Belmondo's character was smoking a cigarette or
in
lighting
every
a
scene,
cigarette
right?
pretty much every single scene.
Every single scene.
Yeah.
Which is what
a French person smoking a cigarette. Never seen it before. That rang false to me. I just wasn't sure about that.
Yeah, you're like,
I've not seen a black and white French film where people are smoking a lot.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just doesn't seem.
I don't buy it.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem authentic to me.
Don't buy it. That movie made me want to smoke, man. Especially that scene, like you're in bed, you're lighting up a cigarette. God damn it. I will go for. I believe Belmondo says this. Michelle. He says he was asked by Patricia, "What do you want in life, or what's your ambition?" And he says, "Being immortal and then dying." So he wants to kind of immortalize himself and then die so he can be remembered basically forever.
And that just shows his inner conflict in a way.
Yeah.
His rebelliousness.
Absolutely. A lot of these lines do reveal a lot about the characters, which again, it's a great piece of writing.
Yeah.
Okay, to close off, I did think about my mystery question as we were
going.
Does
anyone want to do an armchair moment?
I mean, I always have an armchair. I'm the Debbie Downer of the podcast. I'll make it quick since I know we're time on time. Very quickly, opening sequence, I think they could have just reshot that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like,
they didn't need
it's a bit confusing. Like I've seen this film twice and I still had to, I think, look at a summary afterwards to figure out what exactly happened. So apparently he steals a car, ditches the woman he's with, and he's in like Marseille or something like that. And then when he's taking a piss, I think, or something like that, or he's just, I don't know, he finds a gun in the glove compartment. Then a police officer tries to shoot him. Or I don't know, like a police officer comes up to him and says,
he's like
taking the piss.
No, he's taking a piss. I think he goes outside. I think
he's using the loo.
Yeah.
Or
he finds a gun? I thought he finds it in his glove compartment.
Sorry, I got it out of order. Right. But the point is, that whole sequence is shot kind of. That's when you could tell it's really low budget.
Yeah.
And I thought like the film really gathers steam and gets better as it goes along. So I felt like they could have reshot that opening sequence.
Moment where I was like, oh, he stole the car. And I went on Wikipedia and looked through. I was like, oh, he stole the car.
Yeah.
Oh, he finds the gun.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I think armchair moment, not reshoot. Get rid of it entirely.
Yeah.
Have the audience think that he is kind of someone that's
or you could just find it out as the movie comes along.
Yeah, because then there's going to be law enforcement after him, and it's like, oh shit, what the fuck did he do? And then the plot will reveal that he killed someone.
Scrolling words that go through his face.
That's later. But the fact that like it is revealed in various newspapers, you get to see. So it's like, oh, then you get a sense.
And we can find out in the same time as Patricia.
As her. So that would have been a more constructive kind of narrative piece.
I'm with you on that one.
And I think they shot that last as well, because they shot everything chronologically apart from that first.
That makes sense to me.
So it felt rushed and it felt like weird. So all in accord on that one.
Yeah.
So mystery question.
So I did think of one, but I realized it might have been exactly the same one as one of your mystery questions when we did Before Sunrise, and you were like, "Who?"
Well, I wasn't there, so
there we go.
Yeah,
okay, so I'm pretty sure. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was. So my mystery question would be: you are with your summer fling.
Yeah.
Which city in
Which
Europe?
City? Yeah, that is the same question.
We did do that. Yeah. Okay.
I didn't answer this
so
question.
I'm going to scrap that.
Okay.
Scrap that.
Can I answer it though?
Yeah, sure. Go for it.
Okay, you guys, but what's the second question that you're thinking of?
Answer this one and we'll do a mystery question.
In Europe.
That. In Europe, yeah.
In Europe?
Oh, actually, anywhere in the world. Go on then.
Well, no, Europe's easier.
Mogadishu.
Mogadishu. I've never even been. I would say Amsterdam. Amsterdam. It's very walkable, very cycling friendly. Or Copenhagen.
Oh,
yeah.
I'd love to go to Copenhagen.
Copenhagen or Amsterdam. Dublin. Fuck yeah. Anyways, fuck this question.
So we've got three. We've got three. Okay, the next one, because we have done this mystery question, is you get the same essentials as a French New Wave film. You get the bare minimum. Mm-hmm. It's a very low budget. Mm-hmm. And let's say you only get one kind of camera. Mm-hmm. Where do you shoot your film in Europe?
In Europe.
Yeah. Which European city do you choose to shoot your film? It could be anything. It could be something like Breathless or something, whatever. But you get this kind of tech and this kind of crew and this kind of assembly.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Of filmmaking.
Brick Lane.
Whoa, nice.
Brick Lane.
Because
it's like one
That's in London
shot,
for y'all that don't know.
One shot that just goes from the bottom to the top. So you could like basically have a short film that starts at the bottom of the road and ends at the top. You have like so many different types of people that are around, tourists, locals. You have different communities. So you have like different signs on the street. Like you have them in Bengali, if I'm not wrong. Mm-hmm. It's some Sanskrit lettering. There's also like a heavy Jewish influence from back in the day. So you see like a lot of like iconography that's Jewish with Jewish history. There's so much history within that street, like the skinheads versus like immigrants. So I think that would be my favorite place.
A rich tapestry of stuff.
To do like a guerrilla filming, I guess it would be called. Or I don't know.
Yeah. It is guerrilla film.
I'll just give my answer very quick. I'm just going to say Budapest. Because
nice.
One, Budapest is beautiful, so I think it looked very attractive. Budapest is where they do is where they do a lot of filming. So I know you get really good cheap
Midsommar,
crews.
Right? No, that's Bulgaria.
I think a lot of studio films shoot in
a lot of the Marvel
Budapest
stuff
now. Beautiful city, looks great at night, and I feel like you get really good cheap photography. That was like crew. I choose Budapest.
Nice. I will say Bilbao. Bilbao is probably one of the most beautiful Spanish, at least northern Spanish cities that I've ever been to, and it's so underrated and underlooked and not quite seen visually in film. And I kind of want to represent a lot of these like cities that aren't, represented in film. And Bilbao is one of those. And it's a very the topography of Bilbao is quite impressive. So it would have some very aesthetic shots.
Let's do ratings real quick before we get kicked out.
Let's do it.
So for this film, I'm gonna give it a 7.5 out of 10. I had this one. Now it's gone.
There's an
I'm
obvious
gonna
one.
give it guns.
Oh, nice. Okay, yeah.
I'll give it 8 out of 10 Lucky Strikes.
Nice.
That's what he smokes.
I will give it 8.8 licking lips out of 10.
Nice. Very nice. Well, on that note, thank you for coming here and being on this episode and listening to us. The usual. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, comment. Give us a 5-star rating.
And don't forget to watch Cleo from 5 to 7 for next week's
episode. And watch this film if you haven't yet. If you got to this stage without watching this film,
then how dare
you. Yeah, well done.
All right. Ciao, ciao for now. Love you.